So here we go. So as you see here on the screen, the objective for this isn't to be super creative, just to focus on manipulating the text and setting up a basic layout in InDesign. So we take a look at these specifications that are set in the setup here. We have 2 pages that are right there, and then we have 3 columns. That helps you to make this thing fold in thirds, which is what a trifold is. And so we're going to take a look at this. The gutter is 1 inch and the margins are a 1/2 inch. So the gutters have to be twice as wide as what our margins are, because you'll see that in a little bit. We're not going to bleed out the edges. I want you to have at least 6 images. We give you all the images. We also give you all the body copy, which is all the text that goes inside there. So I'm going to talk about the dummy book and then how to actually set up your brochure. The first thing you do is create a new folder. Then you're going to create a dummy book. Then we're going to create this InDesign per specifications. That's what that's supposed to say. What you're going to do is you're going to draw some guides, blank frames where you want your images to be, start arranging things, then put your text, and then get it all together looking nicely. Last thing you're going to do is you're going to print over to Carl. You're going to select the print settings and select 2-sided printing on a short edge binding. That way it opens up like a book. That way when you print 2-sided, both sides will be on, the top is going to be on the same in the back as the top is on the front. If you do the short or long edge binding up on the top here, I don't know if you can see where my cursor is, that would be more like a calendar where the pages would flip over. Alright, so let's get to it here. If I go back to the instructions, you can see we have 3 zip files that show you Gotham City, Alexandria, and Hogwarts. Those are your 3 choices. Also take a close look at Miss Spackman's that she did of Hogwarts. That looks really awesome. Alright, so let's get to it. Like the first thing is you would download your that zip file. You should already have an InDesign Lessons folder because you have 2 assignments that should be done already. You have a flyer, and then you also have a stationery package where you have a business card, letterhead, and envelope. So this is our 3rd project. So I'm putting Trifold in here. This is all files that I have. You won't have that many. But I downloaded the Gotham City files, which have a bunch of pictures from Gotham City, Batman stuff, etc. I even downloaded an extra file that I wanted to put on the front of my brochure. You guys can Google search whatever you want. This is 100% plagiarized layout, so don't worry about getting any Google images for this. I don't really care for this project because it's strictly just to get you guys used to using InDesign, not something that we would send to a competition or anything like that. Okay, so let's proceed here. So the next thing, after I take a look at this, I'm going to make a dummy book. And a dummy book is basically just a quick sketch layout, kind of similar to a thumbnail sketch. So I took some photos of what that dummy book looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up large so you can see. I think I showed you guys this the other day. You just take a plain 8.5 by 11 letter size sheet of paper. See if I can open this up a little bit. And you'll notice that when you fold it, the front is where you'd expect it, but the back is not necessarily where you'd expect it. It's all the way over, the front is over on the right, the back is in the middle, and the flat part that folds over the inside is on your left side. So it's important to write that down and have this with you when you're getting into InDesign. The inside is much more user-friendly. You open it up and you have pages 1, 2, and 3 that can spread out. The thing with the flap is you don't know if somebody's going to read that first or if they're going to read this page first. Alright, so this is what my example ended up looking like. I put the map on the back, I put the logo on the front, and you can see my background has a large image, and sometimes that can really get in the way of a layout. for this layout, I thought it looked pretty good, and then I just put my text into a white box so that way you'd be able to read it. If you just put text over a complicated image, it makes it really difficult to read. And then this is the inside. Again, I used kind of a spread of that Gotham logo with the image in the background. I have a little picture of a caped figure, and then I have a picture of a bat that has a text that wraps around it. So some of the things I want to show you guys is how to use these columns, how you link your text together so that way this works as one text object instead of 3 separate text objects. I want to talk about sizing the fonts very specifically, and then I'll show you guys how that text works. Alright, so let's get to it. So let me put this back here and close that. Alright, so this is what it looks like in InDesign. If I zoom out, you can see that I have 2 pages. There's one page, here's the next page. We can do up to pages up to, I think, 99 pages in this program. I also want to hit the W key, which is the one where you can see all of your guides. See the difference? There's the W key. I told you guys to, when you're working with text, it's a good idea to just copy all of your text into a very large text box. So that way your text is all right there. So if you want to select parts of your text and put it inside your document, you can do that. A couple of things I want to show you here is on the right side, you're familiar with pages, you're familiar with links, how you link to these files, you place them in, but pages you guys are not that familiar with. So these pages up here are master pages. Whatever, if we use on larger documents, whatever you do on these master pages will show up on every page. So I'm going to double click this one. We're not going to use master pages today. There's page 1, and if I double click this, it takes me to that second page. You can also just zoom out and get back to those other pages too. You could even select things from here if you need to do that. Alright, so I'm going to zoom back in. A couple things I wanted to show you about selecting the text before we get into this is that if you have your cursor, I'm going to zoom up really a lot on this. If you take a look at the cursor, it looks like 2 brackets with a tiny little line. That line is on the baseline of your text. So if I wanted to select the name Batman right there, I click here and I can double click it. So the way that this cursor works, you guys might already know this, if you click once on the baseline, that sets your cursor between 2 characters. If you click twice, that selects an entire word. Click 3 times, that selects an entire line of text, and if you click 4 times, it selects an entire paragraph. So I just wanted to let you know, you don't always have to just select things by clicking and dragging. If I wanted to select this entire paragraph, I just click here, 1, 2, 3, 4, selects the entire paragraph. Alright, I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to show you, besides this layers thing, is how to create the new document. So we're going to hurry up here. I'm going to do File, New. I'm going to select Print. We have Letter, and we want that to be in landscape orientation, so horizontal. This defaults to picas, which is 66, which is 11 times 6 because there's 6 picas per inch. So if we have 11 inches, then that's 66 picas. To make your lives easier, you guys can click inches from the units so that you can see it all in inches. The only other thing you have to change here is from 1 page, we have to change it to 2 pages. Alright, I lied. There's another thing you have to change. We're going to change this to 3 columns. 3 columns will assist you in creating your trifold brochure because it's going to be cut into thirds, so that way we have an automatic guide. We're going to change this gutter to 1 inch, so 1 IN, just in case you're in, if you're in picas, I could still click the gutter and I could say 1 IN and hit tab and it'll convert it for you. So this is what my layout looks like. So what I want to show you now is just how to sort of lay this thing out. So I'm going to click the blank frame tool or the rectangular frame tool. I know I want on my front page I'm going to have a logo that's going to be here. I know on my back page I want to have a map somewhere around there. I know on that flap I wanted to have an image of the insane asylum. So see how I'm kind of laying things out ahead of time? Now I can select these frames and I'm going to do File Place or Command D. This is a shortcut you should learn. And then I can go to my desktop here, InDesign Lessons, Trifold, and I'm going to go into Gotham City. And the one I want for that front is Visit Gotham City. Right, you'll notice when I put it in, the picture is much larger than the frame. If you see that little bullseye in the middle, if I click there, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see, but the edge of my illustration or photo is actually way the heck out there. So I'm going to click off and click on my frame again. So this is what's important to know about InDesign. If I select the frame, then I'm just editing the frame. I'm not editing the content of that frame. Okay, if I click in that bullseye, now I'm editing the content of the frame, but not the frame itself. So those are important things to think about. So I'm going to click off and then select just the frame. On the upper right hand corner you can see that we have these little boxes that says fill frame proportionally, fit content proportionally. So fill frame proportionally is really nice. It kind of stuck everything in there. Fit content proportionally is going to get everything in there, but it might not fill your frame, if that makes sense to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and keep with that. I like that a lot. I use this one all the time. If you do want to make the inside bigger, you just click that middle thing, hold the shift key, and then you can make it bigger if you want. Or if you'd like to change the size of both of them, say I wanted to make this really big, I don't really, but say I did. You hold the command key, as long as you have the arrow key selected, you hold the command key, that'll allow you to select and change the size. But we don't want to distort the image, so we hold command and then the shift key, and then that way I can scale it up proportionally. Alright, that's an important thing. The other thing is, you can also, I just deleted that frame for the map. I'm going to do Command D to place the map. So let's see where that map is at. There it is. I like this one. So if I say open, if you take a look at my cursor, that's a loaded cursor. You see a mini version of what your image is going to look like. If I just click, it's going to make it however big that map is, which is huge. But if I click and drag like this, then whatever image I have is going to be just the size of the box that I clicked and dragged. So that's a real nice thing. Alright, so that's a couple different ways of getting your stuff in there. Now I can put this in there. I'm going to go fill frame proportionally because I don't really care about getting the whole thing in there. Alright, the next thing that I wanted to show you is putting the text in. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open up my pages. I'm going to go to I need to get my text. I'm going to go over to my other thing over here where I already had it. As long as you are in InDesign, you can just paste this text. So I'm just going to go paste that. I'm going to select a bunch of text like this. This isn't going to be accurate or anything. And I'm going to click and paste it in there. Alright, what's important to know is that that little X that you see there, that shows that there's more text than we can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Now I have a text box that's going to be loaded with text. You can see it still has more text that can be viewed here. I'm going to click here. I'm going to load this text. Alright, so now all this text is actually linked together. So if I select all this text, Command A, you can see how they're all highlighted. So I can manipulate this text all as one object. So instead of having to go to each separate piece, I can make it look the way that I want. I do want to change this to Myriad Pro because I want to use the condensed font. You can put a lot more text in here and make it a little bit bigger using that font. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to show you is text wrap. So just very simply, I'm going to open this up like this. And then I'm just going to draw a circle like this. Okay, so you always put the text wrap on the image. So say I want this to wrap around this circle, or it could be that bat. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I'm going to open up text wrap from my window, and I'm going to click wrap around object shape. So now you can see that wherever I put this circle, that text is going to wrap around it. Also, you know, if you have an image inside there, I'm going to do Command D, and I'm just going to put a picture in there. Doesn't really matter what I put in there. I'll just put that picture in there. You don't really want the text to touch your image, so what we use is this Inset. So if I click, you want this to be usually at least about 6 points. That way it looks a lot more professional. You don't have your text crashing in your images. Okay, the last thing we want to do is print, so I'm going to go File P. Say we have this all done. I'm going to select Carl. We make sure it's letter size, that's fine. We have to go to Printer, and then you have to click two-sided short edge binding, so that way it'll print correctly. Two sides correct. As long as this is all done, we can go ahead and hit print, and then we can fold it and take a look at it. Alright, well that's all I have for you. Hopefully you guys have a good day today, and if you have any questions, ask Ms. Spackman, or you can ask me on Monday. These are due by the end of the day Monday. Thanks a lot, you guys.